What's good, Bills Mafia? My name is Colin. This is Crack the Table. We're all Bills, no breaks, breaking down Buffalo Bills content every single day. My hope, my joy, my desire with this channel is to bring you, Bills Mafia, more joy, satisfaction, and even perspective when it comes to all things Buffalo Bills. So if you haven't already, join our community. Today, I want to talk about 3 reasons on why I believe this team, this Buffalo Bills 2025 campaign, is actually still an ascending group and is ascending team still, even though they're 7-4. I want to break it all down. But again, if you haven't joined our community, make sure to smash the subscribe button, smash the like button. It helps me get these videos out more and more to other people in the algorithm, but also make a comment down below, maybe something in the video, or maybe just a go Bills. I appreciate all of them as we get into that. But the first thing I want to talk about is this, that the AFC broadly is a log jam, and the playoff picture is pretty crazy. There's 10 teams right now. If you're even looking at the screen right now, you can see this right here. There's 10 teams right now that are within 1 game of a playoff spot, but the Buffalo Bills right now hold some key tiebreakers and even some conference advantages. But again, you look at this, you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Chargers, the Ravens, the Colts, all these teams, even the Steelers, Houston, and Kansas City. There's a lot of good teams on here, but none of them feel like a complete team. I feel like the Buffalo Bills could go toe-to-toe with any single one of these teams, and I know we're just coming off a loss against the Texans. Frankly, I believe if we play that game back again, we win 8 out of 10 of those. The turnovers, the sacks, the even the schematic approach that we had on offense against that team, if we went and played them again, I believe it would be different. But you know what? Even against some of these other teams, we beat Kansas City. We're playing the Steelers this week. We'll talk about that with Aaron Rodgers in a moment. But a lot of these other teams with Jacksonville, I believe we can beat Jacksonville. They've got some hurt players. We've got some advantages against them. The Chargers, a ton of injuries on their offensive line. The Patriots, they're currently ahead of the entire conference, frankly, because the Denver Broncos had their bye week. They're probably going to win this upcoming week and tie the Patriots at least. But you know what? The Patriots themselves just had some about 4 or 5 massive injuries. And so when we play them in a couple weeks, they're going to be without some some star firepower. But again, in all of it, we're right in the thick of this conference race. And I know the first round bye is probably out of the picture, but you know what? We're still going to get in the playoffs. We're still going to be probably a 5, 6, or 7 seed going into this, unless the wheels can completely fall off of the Patriots and we still win the AFC East somehow, and we still get the first round bye somehow. I don't foresee that coming with the way the Broncos and the Patriots are playing. But regardless, we can still beat the Steelers 1-on-1 in a matchup this upcoming week. And I believe we're still 5-2 in conference matchups and hold tiebreakers against teams like Baltimore, and currently tiebreakers against teams like the Steelers, which would be really, really important for us then to win this game, so we retain the matchup, or we retain the advantage against the Steelers. But again, even in 2023, we had a similar thing, right? We started a little bit rocky, but you know what? We finished the season, I believe it was 11-6, and you know what? Right now we're 7-3, and we have every opportunity to go into the rest of this season, and frankly, we could win out. I mean, I know we're playing against the Eagles later this year. We'll talk about our schedule in a little bit, but you know, we could win out this year, but we could win 5 of the next games. We could be sitting at 12-5 at the end of this season, and I wouldn't bat an eye. This team has a lot still in the gas tank, but something that we just have to talk about here again is that Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers will be back, and of course, week 13 Steelers on the road, 4:25 on CBS. The headline coming from Mike Tomlin's mouth today is that Aaron Rodgers will be back. He just had an injury recently, but let's be clear. This isn't some cold quarterback who's walking into a matchup against us. This is a guy, and he's not even walking into like the classic like Frazier defense right now. It's not a buzzsaw, but Aaron Rodgers has played 10 out of 11 of the games this year for the Steelers. And he's only missed 1 game, and in those games, he's got about 66% passer or 66% completion rate, about 2,000 yards, 19 touchdowns. 19 interceptions would be crazy. 7 interceptions, but also about 97.7 passer rating. Again, he knows the system now. He's clicking with DK Metcalf. Their run game seems to be all right. Their defense isn't quite as strong as I maybe would have thought it would be going into this season. They're not quite as good as they were a couple years ago, but in all of it, Rodgers has struggled against the Buffalo Bills. 3-4 historically, 75% or 75.7 passer rating, and only 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And so he's below average against the Buffalo Bills historically, and again, underrating in 4 of 7 games. Again, 2 pick sixes. Again, Buffalo knows how to disrupt him. We'll see if our pass rush, we'll see what's going on with Joey Bosa later this week in some of the practice reports. But even within that, Greg Rousseau is going to have to get after the quarterback. AJ Epinesa is going to have to step up. We'll see. I won't break this down too much, but Shaq Lawson, I guess, is back in Buffalo getting a workout today. We'll see if we sign him. That's got Brandon Beane's name written all over it. But Pittsburgh's offense this year has been 15th in total yards, 18th in points, 12th in EPA per play. So they're a pretty efficient team. But again, about 2.5 sacks per game allowed. Our defense, even banged up, is still top half of the league in pressures. We should get after Aaron Rodgers. We should disrupt him a bit, and especially coming off an injury, we should have some level of advantage in that. But the reason number 2 in this video that I do want to break down, which I think is really important, and frankly, especially as we're going into this Steelers matchup, is that Dalton Kincaid changes everything on our offense. I still cannot compute how Tyrell Shavers didn't get a single catch this last week against the Texans. But you know what? Everything is looking good when it comes to Dalton Kincaid's hamstring injury and his return this upcoming week against the Steelers. He is the most important piece in our receiving game in the offense. When you look at James Cook, of course, so important. Josh Allen, so important. But you know what? With the receiving game in the balance for the Buffalo Bills, with a lot of these guys just being all over the place, just not really being consistent in 8 games with Dalton Kincaid. Here's some stats from Josh Allen. Check this out. 71.7 completion percentage, almost 2,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 29.3 points per game, and about 50% of the time we convert on third down. But without Kincaid, the percentage of completion drops down about 8% to about 64%. The yards significantly drop to about 750. Touchdowns drop significantly from 13 to only 5, but interceptions skyrocket. Actually, interceptions double when Dalton Kincaid's not in the game. The ball is being forced to places it shouldn't be, but also our points per game drop down by about 5 per game. And you know what? Our third down percentage goes from about 50% to about 30%, or about 35% rather. And it's not a small difference. This is a guy who's absolutely essential to grinding first downs, to grinding yards, especially between the 20s, but also especially in the red zone. Dalton Kincaid is outside of his injury, he was on a great season. Even the game that he got hurt, I believe he had over 100 yards. Again, it's not a small difference. It's one that really defines, I believe, the offense in light of even the passing woes with our receivers. But Kincaid unlocks the middle of the field, even against just like linebackers and even safeties at times. He forces defenses out of some of those too high safety looks. He stabilizes Josh Allen. He's got a comfortability and a synergy with him as a passer. Again, he keeps drives alive longer and gives us more points per game across the board. He's trending to be full health, and Kincaid, a healthy Kincaid going into the middle of November and in deeper parts of December is going to be absolutely essential for this team to continue to make a push. And, one thing I did see just today that I want to briefly talk about, maybe just a side point here, is the wide receiver contracts going around the league. We've got some wide receiver contracts of our own, like Josh Palmer and Curtis Samuel, even Khalil Shakir's new contract. They're a little wonky, but even if you look at this offseason of some of these guys, there's a bunch of ways to pay free agents, but even like looking at Devontae Adams' contract, 22 average guaranteed per year. That's pretty brutal. Cooper Kupp, again, 15 average per year guaranteed. And even Darius Slayton, wouldn't want Darius Slayton on our team. He's just another Josh Palmer. He's an older Josh Palmer, in my opinion. But again, all of these guys are getting a lot of money guaranteed to them. And the moves that Brandon Beane did make, he was bargain bin shopping. But again, I'm glad that even amidst Devontae Adams, just leading the league in touchdown receptions for wide receivers or something like that. It's pretty insane. He's having a great year. Matthew Stafford's on an MVP tear, but even within that, I'm glad we didn't get a receiver like this. I'm glad we didn't go to the Amari Cooper route like we did before, but a lot of our guys right now are young, cheap, and I believe still ascending, maybe barring Keon Coleman. We'll see what's up with him. I hope he plays this week. Frankly, I think he's a red zone option that we should be utilizing more, but I realize there's off the field stuff that we've got to figure out yet. But Keon Coleman, he's his own story again, but Khalil Shakir, he's an emerging wide receiver too. He's an ascending player. We just gave him the contract. He's going to be here for a while. If we can get him some balls that aren't aren't just in this screen game each and every week. I would love to see that. But again, Curtis Samuel, when he's been playing, he's been okay. He's been a role player for us. But again, the really two anchors that I think are going to have long-term dividends for our team are Josh Palmer and Dalton Kincaid. I want to see more consistency from Palmer. But the guy that I haven't even mentioned here today, I believe, or maybe I mentioned it briefly, is just Tyrell Shavers. Basically a nothing burger on the cap hit, but we need to get him the ball more. I know earlier on in the season he had some struggles with Josh Allen, some struggles in conversation or in communication with Josh Allen. But you know what? If this team can build a little bit more synergy in the wide receiver room, they can be dangerous down the stretch in January. But again, one thing I already mentioned briefly here before we go on again is right here. Shaq Lawson was in Buffalo, probably working out right now. My guess is we're going to sign him to the practice squad or something. We need some edge help. Joey Bosa, I believe, potentially hurt his wrist some more. Maybe he's going to be out of game. We'll see. That was, I think, a lot of our concern. But, the last 2 weeks, Joey Bosa hasn't done a ton. But again, one thing just to briefly note, just here on the screen too, is again, I already said this, but Will Campbell and Jared Wilson suffered both had injuries for the Patriots against the Bengals. The Bengals were going toe-to-toe with this team. Their defense really shut down the red zone efficiency of the Patriots, which is really great for us to see at this point in the season. I believe we can go into Foxborough in a couple weeks and beat the Patriots. But continuing on, just talking about our offensive line, the Buffalo Bills last season allowed 12 total sacks. And frankly, just a couple weeks ago, or frankly, not a couple weeks ago, this season, they've allowed 30 total going into this week 12. It's pretty terrible. I think they're going to bounce back. This last game against the Texans, I believe, is going to be what we look back at this season as an outlier. But further, just to finish out our time here today, I want to look at the schedule. Just want to talk about a couple quick things here. First and foremost being, we've got the Steelers coming up, then the Bengals. Bengals are going to have Joe Burrow back, but I believe that's still a beatable team. We should be able to beat that team pretty handily. We've got this Patriots game, 1 o'clock, December 14th. This is one that I've got circled right here. I believe we can beat the Steelers, the Patriots, the Bengals. I believe the Browns game is going to be a little bit harder than we want to give it credit for, but I do believe that we can sneak out with that win. And of course, we've got the Eagles coming up. We might take a loss there. I never want to project a loss for the Bills, but you know what? The Eagles are a very good team. They did just get routed by the Cowboys. We'll see what happens with that. But again, Eagles have historically faded late into the season, especially once they've secured their playoff spot. And if it's the second to last game of the week or game of the year, was it week 17? They might be resting some guys at that point, especially if they secure their playoff spot without the first round bye. It looks like the Rams are going to take the NFC first round bye, just my opinion. But again, Buffalo is 25-12 in December under McDermott. And you know what? We can go 4-2, or maybe we can go 5-1. 4-2, I believe, even in and of itself, is a playoff lock, and not pictured here. We're going to play the Steelers, or we're going to play the Jets week 18. So I believe we beat the Steelers. I believe we beat the Jets. I do believe we go into Foxborough and beat the Patriots, which means we only have to beat the Bengals or the Browns. Of course, we always have an option with the Eagles at some point in the season. But again, the Bills, the Buffalo Bills are hurt right now. They're struggling, but we've had this 10-day window to recover. I believe there's going to be a spark coming back, and I believe quietly this team, especially with this schedule coming up, is actually more favorable than we want to admit, and that's the third reason for us. And in all of that, again, the Bills are quietly, I believe, in a better spot than we want to give them credit for. Not perfect, not pretty, but positioned still for success later on in this season. They're 7-4. They're going into a week 13 matchup against the Steelers. They can win it regardless of Aaron Rodgers being back. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for really this week for the news to break out. But again, in all of that, have a great day. God bless. Go Bills.